皆さん、おはようございます。How are you doing today? Hope you are doing well. It has been a couple months since we last got into Kokoro, so I apologize for those of you who are reading along. Life happened, and for a while there, I was unable to do these streams just with everything going on, but I have actually quit one of my other jobs, and I'm focusing more on the channel and my private tutoring. So, for the time being, we should have these streams every week, and hopefully that continues. I can't completely promise, but I will do my best to keep things going so we can read through this together and get as far as we can. So, okay, so last time we left off, our main character had met Sensei, kind of gotten to know him, but they still don't know each other that well. So, and then we have our main character who's a student, but also going back and forth between Tokyo and Kamakura, where Sensei lives. So, now we are getting back into the story. So, let's go ahead and just one second. Let me get the audio set up so we can listen to the native speaker read through this section. All right, hopefully this sound works good. So here we go.
4. 私は月の末に東京へ帰った。先生の避暑地を引き上げたのはそれよりずっと前であった。私は先生と別れるときに、これから折々お宅へ伺ってもよござんすかと聞いた。先生は単簡にただ、ええ、いらっしゃいと言っただけであった。その自分の私は先生とよほど懇意になったつもりでいたので、先生からもう少し細やかな言葉を予期してかかったのである。それでこの物足りない返事が少し私の自信を痛めた。私はこういうことでよく先生から失望させられた。先生はそれに気がついているようでもあり、また全く気がつかないようでもあった。私はまた軽微な失望を繰り返しながら、それがために先生から離れてゆく気にはなれなかった。むしろそれとは反対で、不安に動かされるたびにもっと前へ進みたくなった。もっと前へ進めば、私の予期するあるものがいつか目の前に満足に現れてくるだろうと思った。私は若かった。けれども、すべての人間に対して若い血がこう素直に働こうとは思わなかった。私はなぜ先生に対してだけこんな心持ちが起こるのかわからなかった。それが先生の亡くなった今日になって初めて分かってきた。先生は初めから私を嫌っていたのではなかったのである。先生が私に示した時々のそっけない挨拶や冷淡に見える動作は、私を遠ざけようとする不快の表現ではなかったのである。痛ましい先生は、自分に近づこうとする人間に近づくほどの価値のないものだからよせという警告を与えたのである。人の懐かしみに応じない先生は、人を軽蔑する前にまず自分を軽蔑していたものと見える。私は無論先生を訪ねるつもりで東京へ帰ってきた。帰ってから授業の始まるまでにはまだ2週間の日数があるので、そのうちに一度行っておこうと思った。しかし帰って2日3日と経つうちに、鎌倉にいた時の気分がだんだん薄くなってきた。そしてその上に彩られる大都会の空気が、記憶の復活に伴う強い刺激とともに濃く私の心を染めつけた。私は往来で学生の顔を見るたびに新しい学年に対する希望と緊張とを感じた。私はしばらく先生のことを忘れた。
All right, section's a little bit longer, and I just realized I might have been cutting off some of the words as we were reading over them. So I apologize for that. Okay, so let's start breaking this down. So for our first sentence, we have 私は月の末に東京へ帰った。So 私は me or I 月の末に so 月の末 is the end of the month 月の末に東京へ帰った。So 東京へ to 東京帰った。帰る in the past tense 帰った。And 先生の避暑地を引き上げたのは So this is a very common thing in Japanese that can be very confusing at first. So this 先生の So at first glance you might think this is connecting 先生と避暑地 So oh, his summer residence. So 避暑地 is literally a place that you go to escape the heat. So this first kanji, escape heat, land, 避暑地. It can also just refer to a summer getaway place where it's particularly, specifically cooler than the place where you normally live. So, sensei no hishochi. You might think the sensei no connects directly to hishochi. So, oh, his summer residence. But actually, this no here is connecting to the no at the end here. So, sensei no hishochi o hikiageta no. So, 引き上げた or 引き上げる is to depart or leave. So, 先生の避暑地を引き上げたの means when, what is sensei owning here? The time when he left his summer home. So, it's the sensei no actually connects to this no here to say the time that or the thing when he left his summer home. Or the time when he left his summer home はそれよりずっと前であった。So それより more than that ずっと前 So ずっと is a long time and then we have 前 which is previously. So the time that he left his summer vacation or vacation home, summer residence was much earlier than that. So before I went to Tokyo, right? それ or その or any of the koso ado words that start with so often in literature refer to the previous sentence or something that was just brought up. So それよりずっと前であった。Okay. And we've got 私は Okay, I'm just going to make myself smaller to make sure I don't cut off. I'll try to stay at the top for the whole time, but just in case. Okay. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit more so you can see a little better. Okay, now we're in section 6. ごめんなさいね. Should have figured this out before the stream. Okay. So, 私は先生と別れるときに、これから折々お宅へ伺ってもよござんすかと聞いた。So, 私は先生と別れるとき。When I left Sensei, parted from Sensei, これから from now on, 折々 from time to time, お宅へ伺ってもよござんすか? So this is kind of an archaic form here. If you were to put this in modern casual speech, you'd say 行ってもいいですか? 行ってもいいですか? So this temo here is the te form with mo. And then yogozansuka is an archaic way of saying いいですか? So here, would it be all right if? So this actually comes from yoroshu gozaimasu ka, an even more archaic form, which is just the exact same thing as いいですか? So from now on, would it be all right if I visited you? Ukagao, a humble form of to visit or to go somewhere. 伺ってもよござんすか? So can I visit your house from time to time, every once in a while? と聞いた. So that's what I asked. Every time I left Sensei, I would ask him, can I go... Oh no, this is when I left Sensei, not whenever I left him. Sorry. With Japanese, context-wise, it could mean either here. Sensei to wakareru toki ni. But here it's when I parted from Sensei, I asked, may I visit your house from time to time? And Sensei wa tankan ni tada, irashai, to itta dake de atta. So, Sensei simply, tankan ni, tada. So, simply, only, said, irashai. So, irashai is like, yeah, sure, come on, like, feel free. So, irashai. Irashai is a honorific, yes, please come. To itta dake de atta. So Japanese loves doing this, where we have three simple or justs. We have tankan ni, which is simply or briefly, tada, which is just, and dake, which is also just. So you can double up or even triple up on the same or similar words that basically mean the same thing in Japanese, and it kind of adds emphasis without sounding weird. In English, if you were to say only or just, it would sound kind of weird. In Japanese, it doesn't really feel that way. It's just kind of the way you would say that. So, okay. So, その自分の私は, so その自分 at that time の私は先生とよほど懇意になったつもりでいたので, so let's just stop right there. So we're ending with a node, which is because. So その自分の私は me at that time 先生とよほど懇意になったつもりでいたので. So つもり is what you expect or intend here. And then de, in that state, iru. So I was in a state where I had thought or I expected that sensei to yohodo koi ni natta. So koi ni naru is to be familiar with, be very friendly, on friendly terms with. So 私は先生とよほど恋になったつもりでいたので I had thought, I was in a state where I had expected that me and Sensei were on fairly familiar terms. This yoho is like fairly, so, or significantly familiar terms. Therefore, because I thought we were on pretty familiar terms, or very friendly with each other, 先生からもう少し細やかな言葉を予期してかかったので。So, 先生からもう少し細やかな言葉。So, from 先生からもう少し細やかな言葉。Slightly more friendly or heartfelt. So here we got 細やかな friendly, heartfelt 言葉. Words. So, from Sensei, slightly more friendly words o yokishite. So, yokisuru is to expect or anticipate here. So, I had anticipated a little bit more friendly of a response because I thought we were friends, right? That connects to that node here. And this kakatta is to engage yourself in something. So, when I said, hey, can I visit your house every once in a while? Because we were so friendly with each other, I would have thought he would have responded a little more warmer, right? I was anticipating slightly more warmer words when I engaged with Sensei at this time. So, 先生からもう少し細やかな言葉を予期してかかったのである。それで, this is kind of like a therefore, この物足りない返事. So, 物足りない is literally things lacking. So, 足りる is to be sufficient or to have enough. This is 物足りない. So, insufficient. Just doesn't feel like there's enough. 物足りない返事. 返事 is a response or a reply. が少し私の自信を痛めた. So, it somewhat or slightly damaged or hurt my confidence. 私の自信を痛めた. So, 自信を痛める. to bruise your pride or hurt your pride. So what do they have it as? Harm your pride, right? 自信を痛めた. Okay. Then we have 私はこういうことで. So こういうことで in this manner or due to this thing or in such cases here. こういうことでよく先生から失望させられた. So I often 私はこういうことでよく due to such similar things 先生から失望させられた. So 失望 is to disappoint. Now this is the causative and the passive combined here. So because our main topic or our subject here is me, so I was made to be disappointed is the literal translation of what 失望させられた would be here. So there were lots of times where these things happened. And Sensei made me feel disappointed. So the Sensei から失望させられた. So let's go ahead and add 失望する to be disappointed to our vocab list here. Is the vocab on? It might not be. Let's go ahead and put it in the front. Okay. So actually, let's just do this. Okay, there we go. So 失望する. And add that to our list here. 失望する to be disappointed. You can say that whenever you're disappointed. Okay, so 失望する. Okay, so Sensei often made me feel disappointed in such cases when these kind of things happened. Okay, then we have 先生はそれに気がついているようでもあり、また全く気がつかないようでもあった. So 先生は and then this ようでもあり. So you can use よう to say when something seems to be the case. So here it seems like 先生はそれに気がついている. So 気がつく is to notice or to realize or recognize something. So our previous sentence, once again, this それ refers to our previous sentence here. It's an important reading skill. So それ connects to the previous sentence. So Sensei, it seemed like Sensei had realized or recognized that he made me disappointed when I was expecting more warmer or friendly replies to my questions or things, and he did not respond very warmly. So it seemed like he recognized that. また全く気がつかないようでもあった. So when we have two things that are true, and we're saying they're both true, instead of des or de aru, we can use de mo aru. So we have two de mo arus. So it seemed like Sensei recognized that, but at the same time, また also, 全く気がつかないようでもあった. So it also seemed like this でもあった also seemed like he had no idea. So I would talk to Sensei in a very warm, friendly way, and I would expect him to respond kindly or warmly. He disappointed me when he didn't respond very warmly. And it seemed like Sensei, at the same time, he recognized that, and at the same time, he didn't recognize that at all. So 全く completely, or not at all if you have it with a negative verb here. So I'm not really sure if Sensei recognized the fact that he was making me disappointed when he would respond in such a cold way. Okay, so 私はまた軽微な失望を繰り返しながら それがために先生から離れていく気にはなれなかった。So, 私はまた、me again, 軽微な失望。So, 失望 once again, to be disappointed. And 軽微 is slight or minor. So, these slight or mild disappointments を繰り返しながら。So, 繰り返す is to repeat, for something to repeatedly occur or happen. And that's put in the ながら. So while I was repeatedly having these disappointments, それがために先生から離れていく気にはなれなかった。So, 気になる is when you, see, how would you put this? When you feel a certain way, when you start feeling a certain way. So here we have 離れていく気にはなれない。I couldn't feel like I wanted to 離れていく, separate myself from, or leave sensei. So what do they have for ki here? Inclination, right? So 気になる. I did not have the inclination to separate myself from sensei. And then this それがために is due to such things. So even though sensei treated me pretty coldly when I tried to be very warm and friendly with him, I did not feel like I wanted to leave from sensei due to such. So, それがために due to such. Yep. 先生から離れていく気にはなれなかった. Yep. Then we got むしろ. むしろ is kind of like on the contrary, or rather. それとは反対で, almost completely opposite of that. So I didn't feel like I wanted to leave sensei, but on the contrary, opposite of that, それとは反対で, 反対 is like to oppose something. So opposite of that, 不安に動かされるたびに. So たびに is whenever. So whenever something happened, and here we have 不安に動かされる. So 不安に is, or 不安 is your uneasiness. Let's see, what do they have here for insecurity, anxiety? I like that too. 動かされる. So whenever I was shaken or moved by my insecurities or anxieties due to such, もっと前へ進みたくなった. So もっと more so, and then 前へ進む is to move forward. And then we have 前へ進む in the Thai form. So 前へ進みたい. I would like to move forward, go forward. And then 進みたくなった. It became so that I wanted to move forward more. So even though sensei treated me so cold when I was trying to be friendly with him, and I felt bad about it, every time that happened, I wanted to move forward. I wanted to get to know sensei more for some reason. Right? So every time this anxiety shook me, I wanted to get to know sensei more. もっと前へ進みたくなった. And then もっと前へ進めば. So this is the conditional ば here. So if I moved forward a little more, もっと前へ進めば, 私の予期するあるものが. So once again, 予期する to anticipate. So something I anticipated, and we can use あるもの when we're not sure what kind of a thing it is. So 私の予期するあるものが, something that I anticipate. Kind of weird, because normally you would think that something you anticipate or expect is something you know, but here our main character is kind of confused. So something that I anticipate がいつか目の前に満足に現れてくるだろうと思った. So と思った, this is actually going to basically take our whole sentence. So this is something the main character thinks or imagines. So I thought that if I were to move forward just a little more, something that I anticipated would いつか sometime 目の前に before my eyes or right in front of me. 満足に現れてくる. So 現れる is for something to appear. And then 現れてくる is almost like coming out of nowhere, right? So 現れてくる. This thing that I anticipate would come before me right before my eyes. And then this 満足に is sufficiently, satisfactorily, so enough. And I would be satisfied with it, right? And then this daro is a probably, right? So I thought to myself, if I just move a little bit farther, something I anticipate, this warmness or something, this close relationship with Sensei might appear in front of me to a sufficient or in a sufficient manner, and I would be happy with it, right? Okay, then we've got 私は若かった. So, I was young. I was very young. けれども, however, すべての人間に対して, so 人間 is humans. So, and すべての is all humans. So, with respect to all humans, 若い血がこう素直に働こうとは思わなかった. So, even though I was young, 若い血が my young blood. So we're going to have a little bit of a weird description here. So, my young blood はこう素直に. So, こう is used when something is done in a specific manner. So here it's in this manner. こう素直. So, 素直 is kind of like when you do something willingly or diligently or what's the word they have? Honestly, right? Without any ill intent, right? 素直に働こうとは思わなかった. So 働く is function or operate towards something. So even though I was young, my young blood did not move in such an honest way towards all human beings. So even though I was young and I wanted to get this warm relationship with Sensei, this did not always happen for all people, right? すべての人間に対して, not to all people. My young blood did not move in such a way, so honestly or candidly, towards all people. This was a special or something that is unique to how I felt towards Sensei, right? Okay, then we got 私はなぜ先生に対してだけこんな心持ちが起こるのかわからなかった. So, 私はなぜ why 先生に対してだけ only towards 先生こんな心持ちが起こるのか such a feeling why such a feeling arised or occurred or came about only towards Sensei. And we have this in an embedded question here. So, わからなかった did not know why such a feeling only happened towards Sensei. No one else, just Sensei. And then, それが先生の亡くなった今日になって初めて分かってきた. So, this is normally kyo, but it can also be read konnichi. It was more commonly read as konnichi in older times. Now you almost always read it as kyo unless it has the furigana for konnichi on it. So here, I believe if this was in the book, they would have konnichi. So, それが先生が亡くなった今日になって So, 初めて分かってきた. So that, why I felt this way towards Sensei, I first felt it or understood it after, so te form, remember, if we have a te form, that's going to happen first. So it has now become today, which in which Sensei is dead, right? So それが先生の亡くなった今日。Today, when sensei is deceased or gone, it has become today, and then the first time I realized it. So to translate that into a more understandable English sentence, I first understood that now. I'm just starting to understand that now that sensei is gone. Right? それが先生の亡くなった今日になって、or 今日になって、初めて分かってきた。So let's add that to the vocab. This one's a simple one. If you say 初めて and then have something after it, that just means the first time something happens, right? So here we've got 初めて blank. So the first time blank. Okay, there's our new one. Okay. So 初めて分かってきた. I first understood that now that sensei is gone. Okay. Then we have 先生は初めから so from the start 私を嫌っていたのではなかったのである. So 嫌う, you probably heard the word 嫌い to hate something. There is actually a verb form of 嫌い, and that is 嫌う. So this is the verb 嫌う to hate someone in the past tense ている form. So 先生は初めから私を嫌っていたのではなかった. This was not the case. ではなかったのである. That sensei hated me from the start. So 先生は初めから私を嫌っていた. That he hated me from the start. のではなかった. It is not that case. It wasn't the case that he hated me from the start. 先生が私に示した時々のそっけない挨拶や冷淡に見える動作は私を遠ざけようとする不快の表現ではなかったのである. Okay, now this is a beast of sentence right here. Let me make sure I'm not cutting off. Okay, we're good. So, 先生が私に示した時々のそっけない挨拶. So let's break that down. This is all describing this verb or this word 挨拶 here. So 挨拶 would be greetings. And then we have all of this describing what kind of greeting we're talking about here. So 私に示した時々のそっけない挨拶. So the greetings that sensei sometimes 時々の showed 示した to me. And then we also have そっけない, which is like cold or blunt. So these cold or blunt greetings that sensei sometimes showed to me, or with our ya here, or our 冷淡に見える動作. So 動作 is actions or behaviors. Yep. And then に見える means that appeared a certain way. That appeared to also be 冷淡, which is like cold or indifferent is another way to put it. I like that one that they give us here. So these greetings, these cold greetings that sensei sometimes showed to me, or these actions that appeared to be very cold, were, so that's our main subject here, 私を遠ざけようとする不快の表現ではなかった. So these actions were not ではなかったのである an expression, which is 表現 of distaste, or what do they have? Displeasure. 不快. So they were not an expression of distaste or displeasure to try to get me to go away. So 遠ざける is for something to go away or to separate something, right? Not to go away, to separate something. So 遠ざけようとする. So these actions that seemed very cold were not an expression of distaste or displeasure he had to try to make me go away from him. So, 遠ざけようとする. And then this, if we have a verb like 遠ざける in the volitional form, 遠ざけよう with とする, that's like an attempt is being made. So this was not an expression of his discontent? I keep saying displeasure. To try to get me to go away as an attempt to make me go away. It's not what that was. So even though he seemed very cold, it was not like he was trying to push me away. And then he's going to explain what they actually were. So, 痛ましい先生は自分に近づこうとする人間に近づくほどの価値のないものだからよせという警告を与えたのである。So, 痛ましい先生. So, 痛ましい is like someone who's pained or hurt. Here they have unhappy, wretched. So, Sensei was not a happy person. You might even be able to say depressed or something. Unhappy, wretched. So, Sensei, who was very unhappy. 自分に近づこうとする人間. So, this is all describing the type of 人間. So, 人間 is a person. And then, once again, we have this volitional とする. So, 近づこうとする. Someone who attempts to get close to. 近づく is to get close to something. So, two people who were trying to attempt to get close to 自分, oneself, or in this case, you just say him in English. So, Sensei, to those who tried to get close to him, 近づくほどの価値のないものだから. So, because I am this time, in this case, mono is a person here. And then we have 価値のない. So, 価値のない. 価値 is worth. So, 価値のない is worthless. Right? So, and then, so, because I am a worthless person, and then 近づくほどの価値のない. So, this 近づくほどの means to the extent that you would approach me or get close to me. So, I am not a person that is worth getting close to is kind of how I would translate this. I am a worthless person to the extent that I am not, or I don't have worth that you would want to approach me is the literal meaning of what's going on here. 近づくほどの価値のないものだから. So to everyone that tried to approach to him, he said, because I am a worthless person that's not worth getting close to, yose. So yose is like back off, stop it, like don't do this, right? という警告を与えたのであった. So 警告 is a warning, and という is, this is what kind of a warning we have here. So 先生は警告を与えたのである. So he was giving a warning for people to back off because he felt he was a worthless human being that's not worth getting close to. So it wasn't that he hated our main character. He just gave out warnings to everyone that tried to get close to him that he's not worth getting close to. So 近づくほどの価値のないものだからよせ. I'm not worth getting close to, so back off. Leave me alone. Don't do it. Okay, now this character is hoka, but it can also be read hito to mean other people. So in this case, other people. 他の懐かしみに応じない先生は, see, I read it as hoka. It's actually hito, sorry. So 人の懐かしみに応じない先生は, so our main topic here is sensei, and what is describing sensei? 他の懐かしみに応じない. Or I keep reading it as hoka. It's hito. In the book, they would actually mark this with hito. So, 人の懐かしみ, friendliness of other people, に応じない先生. So, 応じない is to respond. and in this case, respond appropriately. So sensei, who did not respond well or didn't accept people's kindness or friendliness or warmth. I like that one. Natsukashimi, warmth. So sensei, who did not respond very well or accept people's kindness and warmth, は人を軽蔑する前にまず自分を軽蔑していたものと見える. So this と見える, it appeared that sensei, who did not respond to people's warmth and kindness, before he criticized or scorned or disdained, hated others. So before he would hate others, first, まず自分を軽蔑していたものと見える. So it seemed like sensei, who did not respond to the warmth or kindness of others, was a person, this mono is a person who scorned or disdained or hated himself, 自分, before he hated others. So he was not a person who would be mean to others before being mean to himself. He hated himself more than others. Right? Okay. And then 私は無論先生を訪ねるつもりで東京へ帰ってきた. So 無論, this is also the same thing as もちろん. So naturally or obviously, I went to Tokyo, or here 帰ってきた. So I returned to Tokyo, and then 訪ねるつもりで, with the intent of visiting 訪ねる先生. So naturally I intended on visiting Sensei when I went to Kyoto or returned to Tokyo. Gosh, I am on something today. So I returned to Tokyo with the intent of visiting Sensei. Okay, then we have 帰ってから, after I returned, 授業の始まるまでには. So after I returned, until, this までには is until 授業の始まるまで. Hello. Yeah, I love this book. It's a great book. Kind of sad, but it's very deep and great. And thank you for dropping by. Appreciate it. So did you read it in Japanese or did you read it in English? Or another language? I don't know. Yeah. I first read it in English, and then I haven't read the entire thing in Japanese, but I'm going back and reading it, and I'm really enjoying it. So, okay, so 帰ってから. So since I went back or returned until classes started again, 授業の始まるまでにはまだ still 2週間の日数がある. So 日数 is like number of days. So here we have 2週間の日数がある. There were still 2 weeks. I still had a number of days that was equivalent to 2 weeks. Right? 2週間の日数があるので, therefore, そのうちに, during that time, うち can be like a period of time. So, in that period of time, 一度行っておこうと思った. So, I thought I would visit once. So, 一度 is one time. Then 行っておく is to go in advance. And then this is the こうと思った. So, this is the volitional と思う. I thought I would visit him at least once. So, yeah, this book, it gets pretty hard, but it's not as hard as some of the other works, though. Even some of Tanizaki's other works, or not Tanizaki, what am I saying? Soseki's other works are harder than this, if I remember correctly. This is one of the easier ones. But still, lots of old language and lots of very literary stuff going on. But yeah, it's a great place to kind of see where you're at, too. So Okay, しかし. However, 帰って I returned 2日3日. So in Japanese, if you want to say like 2 or 3 somethings, here we have 2 or 3 days, you just stick the two numbers right next to each other. So 2日3日 would just be 2 or 3 days. と経つうちに So うちに is while this happens. So while 2 or 3 days have passed, 2日3日と経つうちに鎌倉にいた時の気分 So 気分 here is our feeling. 鎌倉にいた時 When I was in, so this is いる in the past tense. When I was in 鎌倉 So that feeling I had when I was in 鎌倉が So it's our subject here. だんだん薄くなってきた So 薄い is to get thinner or to be not as strong. So だんだん is also gradually. So that feeling I had when I was living in Kamakura gradually was less strong, kind of weakened. 薄くなってきた It came to be weaker. Or if we use a good English translation, it faded or dissipated, like they have here. Then we have そうして and then その上に彩られる大都会の空気が So our noun here is 空気 the air of the 大都会 the huge city. So the air of the huge city その上に彩られる So その上に here is like in addition to that the air of the big city and 彩られる So what did they have here? Yeah, stylish. It's kind of like to decorate or to be fancy, right? So the air, the fancy air of the big city が記憶の復活に伴う強い刺激とともに Okay, so とともに is along with, so the air of the big city along with 刺激 is like something that's stimulating. So what is it? Stimulus, yes, excitement. So along with the strong excitement. Yeah. So その上に can be used to be like, oh, in addition to that or on top of that. So you can even use this in everyday conversations. It's a little bit formal, but その上に would be like in addition. So if you're talking about a problem, you're like, oh, there's something you're not seeing here. You can be like, その上に in addition to that, there's also this. So, yep, on top of that. Good. Yep, so in addition to that, the air of the big city, along with the excitement, and then we have 強い刺激, which is the strong excitement, and then 記憶の復活. Lots of more difficult words here, but 記憶 is your memory, and 復活 is like the resurrection or the coming back to life. So they have here the revival of memories. And then this is に伴う. So the strong excitement accompanied by the revival of memories. So this is a place where Sensei, or not Sensei, our main character has been before. So when he returns back to the big city, he's flooded by these memories that he's had, and they kind of like come back to life, right? So the strong excitement that accompanies remembering these memories that he's had, or these memories coming back to life. So the air of the big city and the excitement of these memories coming back が 濃く, so in a very deep way, 濃い. So you can also use this when you're eating ramen. If you like a very deep or a thick ramen soup, you'd be 濃い. So this is 濃く in a deep manner. 私の心を染め付けた. So 染め付ける is kind of like to soak something in, or in this case, permeate. Yes, I like that. So it just went right into his heart. 私の心を染め付けた. So the air of the big city and the excitement of remembering all these things just completely permeated into our main character's heart in a deep way, koku. And then, watashi wa ourai de. So, ourai is another way to say like michi, on the road, just out and about. Ourai de, on the road. Gakusei no kao o miru tabi ni. So, once again, we have tabi ni. This is every time something happens. So, every time I did what on the streets? Gakusei no kao o miru tabi. I gotta scroll down. There we go. So my face doesn't block this out. So, gakusei no kao o miru tabi ni. Every time I saw students' faces, or the faces of students on the street, 新しい学年に対する希望. So, 希望 is hope, and then this に対する with respect to or relating to. So, hope, and that relates to the new school year. So, 新しい学年. So, the new school year. に対する希望と緊張. So, 緊張 is kind of like nervousness or what else do they have here? Nervousness, tension, pressure, right? So, とを感じた. So this is something that our main character felt. 感じる, to feel in the past tense. 感じた. So every time I saw the faces of students on the street, I felt the hope and nervousness, or hope and what did they have again? Sorry, pressure of the new school year. So he was intending on visiting Sensei, but being in the big city, recalling all these memories, and then he would see the students' faces, and it would just remind him of the new school year. He'd be excited or be nervous about it. And then the last sentence leads up to this last sentence. 私はしばらく. しばらく is for a time. 先生のことを忘れた. So when you're talking about someone, you can use that person no koto. That would be like about them, the things of that person. So for a time, I forgot 忘れる in the past tense, 忘れた, about sensei. 先生のことを忘れた. 先生のことを忘れました. So that is that section right there. So they separated from each other. Sensei seemed to be extremely cold towards our main character here, but it seemed like he wasn't doing that on purpose. He was, or not because he hated people. It's just that he felt that he did not want people to get close to him because he felt so bad about himself. And then our main character was kind of intrigued by that. Why is Sensei this way? Why does he try to push me out? He doesn't seem like he just hates me, but he doesn't want me to be a part of his life and be close to him. And then that kind of drew our main character into wanting to know more about Sensei. So he was intending on visiting Sensei when he returned, but he kind of got sucked up into his life, the big city, all these memories, the new school year. He kind of forgot about Sensei for a time. So that is section 7. Let's go ahead, and I should have enough time to jump into section 8. We'll do one more section before we call it the day. So, all right, let's go ahead and listen to the... Actually, you know what? Can I do that? That's probably better. Yep. Okay, so let's listen to the next section and do that one. Let me know if the audio doesn't sound good.
5、私は墓地の手前にある苗畑の左側から入って、
Oh, I just opened up section 9. I apologize. So, section 8. Here we go. Okay.
授業が始まって1ヶ月ばかりすると、私の心にまた一種のたるみが出てきた。私はなんだか不足な顔をして往来を歩き始めた。 物欲しそうに自分の部屋の中を見回した。私の頭には再び先生の顔が浮いて出た。私はまた先生に会いたくなった。初めて先生の家を訪ねたとき、先生は留守であった。二度目に行ったのは次の日曜だと覚えている。晴れた空が身に染み込むように感じられるいい日和であった。その日も先生は留守であった。鎌倉にいたとき、私は先生自身の口からいつでも大抵うちにいるということを聞いた。むしろ外出嫌いだということも聞いた。二度来て二度とも会えなかった私は、その言葉を思い出してわけもない不満をどこかに感じた。私はすぐ玄関先を去らなかった。下女の顔を見て少し躊躇してそこに立っていた。この前名刺を取り継いだ記憶のある下女は私を待たしておいてまた家へ入った。すると奥さんらしい人が代わって出てきた。美しい奥さんであった。私はその人から丁寧に先生の出先を教えられた。先生は霊月その日になると雑司ヶ谷の墓地にあるある仏へ花を手向けに行く習慣なのだそうである。たった今出たばかりで10分になるかならないかでございますと奥さんは気の毒そうに言ってくれた。私は会釈して外へ出た。にぎやかな町の方へ一丁ほど歩くと、私も散歩がてら雑司ヶ谷へ行ってみる気になった。先生に会えるか会えないかという好奇心も動いた。それですぐきびすを巡らした。
Okay, cool. So now we have our main character visiting Sensei's house for the first time. So we have 授業が始まって. So classes started. Let me zoom in a little bit so we can see these a little bit closer. Yep, so 授業が始まって. Classes started. 1ヶ月ばかりすると. So this poll is telling us once this happened. So once a month had passed since my classes had started, 私の心に, so in my heart, or to my heart, また一種のたるみができてきた. This one's always fun to say. So できる can be when something appears, like shows up. And then we have 来る in the past tense here. So it came to show up. So できてきた. It's a fun one to say. So, and then 一種のたるみ. So たるみ is kind of like when something sags or is like drooping, right? So here in his heart, he has a type of droopiness or sadness in this case. So 一種のたるみが出てきた. So 一種の a certain kind of letdown. Yeah, I like that. So this can be a physical thing or a feeling. たるみ, you just feel like something is dragging. So in my heart, I started feeling this almost like an emptiness, right? Let down, fatigue. This appeared in my heart after a month of classes starting. And then 私はなんだか不足な顔をして往来を歩き始めた. So なんだか is kind of like somehow or some way. So we have 不足な顔 is like 不足 means you're lacking something. So 不足な顔, how did they translate this one? Dissatisfied. Because when you're lacking something, you don't have it. Right? So, dissatisfied顔. So I was making this dissatisfied face for some reason or other. And then 往来を歩き始めた. So 往来 once again is like 道. It's like the street. So I started walking on the street. So when we have a verb in the mas stem, so we have 歩く to walk, turn that to 歩き, and then 始めた to start walking. So I somehow or in some manner was making a dissatisfied face and I started walking down the street. And then 物欲しそうに自分の部屋の中を見回した。So, 物欲しそうに. So, we have a soul here in a certain manner. And then this 物欲しい, like you want something. So, 物 is an object, and then 欲しい, to want something, right? So, 物欲しそうに, longingly is kind of probably what I would translate that as, yeah. Wistfully or longingly, 自分の部屋の中を見回した. So, 見回す is kind of like to look around. It's a combination of 見る to look and 回す for something to spin. So, 見回す. So, I looked around the inside of my room. 自分の部屋の中を見回した. I longingly looked around my room. And then, 私の頭には再び先生の顔が浮いて出た. So, in my head, 私の顔には再び yet again 先生の顔が浮いて出た. So, 先生の顔, the face of 先生. 浮いて, so 浮く is for something to float up. So when you have a memory or something that just kind of shows up out of nowhere, you can also use this 浮く. So inside my head, Sensei's face kind of appeared, showed up. And then 浮いて出た, showed up, popped up out of nowhere. Right? 私はまた先生に会いたくなった. So I felt like I wanted to meet Sensei or see him again, right? So 私はまた, yet again, 先生に会う, to meet Sensei again, 会いたくなった. So the pi form in the naru. I just had this feeling or that I wanted to see Sensei again. So now we have 初めて, so for the first time, 先生の家を訪ねたとき. So when I visited Sensei's house for the first time. So this can be read taku or uchi. Normally it would not read uchi. If this was in a book, they would have the furigana above it to say uchi. But here, we're using this kanji, but we do pronounce it uchi. So, 先生の家を訪ねたとき. So, when I visited Sensei's house for the first time, we have 先生は留守であった. So, this is a good word to know. 留守is mean to be absent or to be not there. So, 留守, you can say 留守です to say, oh, thank you for subscribing, Note Rabbit. ありがとうございます。登録. If you ever have any questions or just want to chat, feel free to chat in chat. There you go. So, 留守 is to be absent or gone. It's also used in the word 留守番電話, which is like the messages that you leave at a phone. What's that called nowadays? Used to be like your message machine, but I forget what it's called. Great. Hopefully you enjoy it. Let me know if you have any recommendations on how I can make it better. But good luck. 宿題頑張ってください. So, 留守 to be absent or gone. So, if someone is not home when you visit, you say 留守です. They are not there. 留守です. Okay, let's see. Is that showing up? Yep. To be absent, to be gone. So, the first time I visited Sensei's house, he was gone. And then 二度目に行ったのは, so 二度 is 2 times. We add this me that turns it into the second time. So 二度目に行ったのは, the second time I went, 次の日曜だと覚えている. So 次の日曜 or 日曜日 would be the next Sunday. だと覚えている. So 覚える is to, our main character is recalling this, trying to think of this in his mind, saying, I think it was the next Sunday. So だと, this da is the des in the short form, so it was the next Sunday. That's what I'm remembering or recalling. Then we have 晴れた空が身に染み込むように感じられる良い日和であった。So 晴れた空が晴れる is for something to be clear. So 晴れた空 is the clear sky. So 晴れる in the past tense, 晴れた空. This sky that had become clear. が身に染み込む. So 身 is your body. So 身に染み込む is like for it to just completely enter in, to be like absorbed in. What is the translation they have here? To soak into, to permeate. Yes. So the blue skies just kind of like went straight into your body, like you felt it, right? 染み込むように感じられるいい日和であった. So, 日和 is good weather, and then this is いい or 良い. So, it was very good weather where the sky that was so clear, it seemed to just deeply permeate into your body or your soul. That's how good the weather was. And this 感じられる is how it feels, right? So it was such good weather that you felt like the blue sky was just burrowing deep into your soul is how I translate that, maybe. Probably wouldn't translate that and put it in a book, but I think you kind of get the feeling, right? And then we have その日も on that day as well. 先生は留守であった. So Sensei was also not home on that day. And 鎌倉にいたとき, when I existed or when I was in Kamakura. So いる in the past tense there. When I was in Kamakura. 私は先生自身の口から. So 私は I from から先生自身の口から. So 自身 you can add after a person to mean that person themselves. So here we've got 先生自身の口. So from Sensei, the mouth of Sensei himself. So I from the mouth of Sensei himself. いつでも, so at any time we're talking about. 大抵. And this is, I love Japanese because いつでも is like no matter what, anytime. And then we have that followed with 大抵. For the most part. Kind of contradictory, but at all times, for the most part. うちにいるということを聞いた. So, I, and then the verb that connects to this I here is 聞いた. So I heard, 聞く in the past tense, that, and then こと is this thing. So what did I hear? The という is kind of like such a thing. I heard a thing like he was always usually at home. Always usually at home, right? うちにいる. From Sensei himself. So Sensei himself said that he was always usually home. So the fact that he visited twice was kind of surprising to him. Or that he visited twice and Sensei wasn't there. Then we have むしろ. And not only that, it wasn't only that he was usually home, but rather 外出嫌い. So 外出, if you look at the kanji, you can see 外出る, to go outside. And then this is 嫌い, so to hate something. So 外出嫌い, someone that hates going out or is reclusive, right? They never want to go outside. むしろ外出嫌いだということも聞いた. So once again, I heard the thing, or I also heard the thing that he hated going outside. So it wasn't just that he was usually at home. On the contrary, it was that he just hated going outside. 二度来て、二度とも会えなかった. And this is all describing 私. So me, who came twice, 二度来て. I came here twice, and then 二度とも. So this tomo is saying both times. Nido by itself is just two times, but nido tomo both times. 会えなかった. So 会う in the negative potential past here. So 会えなかった. I was unable to meet him. So I came twice, but I was still unable to meet him 2 times. So me, who was in this situation, I came twice, didn't meet him both times. その言葉を思い出して. So その言葉. I remembered these words. 言葉 is words. So その言葉を思い出して. I remembered these words. So 思い出す. So 思う is to think, 出す is to take something out. So it's like in your brain, you're thinking of it, you're taking it out, you're remembering. So me, I remembered these words, even though I had come here twice and wasn't able to meet him both times. Then わけもない不満. So 不満 is like, it means, how would you describe this? So if you look at the kanji, 不満, or fu, this is not, and then man is satisfied. Oh, well, there we go. Dissatisfied or displeasure. And then わけもない. So normally this will read 理由もない, but in this case we read it as わけ, which is another word that means meaning. So 理由もない or わけもない, something that doesn't have a meaning. So I had this displeasure that was indefinite or vague, right? Don't know where it came from. どこかに感じた. So somewhere, どこか, somewhere inside of me, I had this displeasure that was kind of hard to describe or vague after remembering these words. So he hated going outside. Why, even though he hated going outside, why was he not here twice? Something just felt wrong about that after I remembered that he had said that. So I felt this weird feeling. Okay. Then we have 私はすぐ, so right away. 玄関先を去らなかった. So 玄関先 is to be at the entrance or the front of the entry hall. The genkan is that entryway into a Japanese house where you take off your shoes. So 玄関先 is the front of that. So in that genkan, and then 去らなかった. 去る is to depart or to leave. So with sugu, with a negative verb, I did not leave it right away. So I kind of stayed there for a while. I stayed there right at the front of the entry. And then 下女の顔を見て. So 下女 is kind of like a maid servant, someone who serves the house. So 下女の顔, I looked at the maid servant's face. 顔を見て. 少し, is this 躊躇? Or 躊躇? I think it's 躊躇. 躊躇. Okay, yep. So 躊躇. 少し躊躇して. I hesitated slightly or a little bit. 少し躊躇して、そこに立っていた. So I looked at the maidservant's face and I kind of slightly hesitated. And then そこに立っていた. And I stood there. So this is 立つ in the past ている form here. So 立っていた. I stood there for a little bit longer. この前. So この前 was the other day. Or the other time. This is a very good one. This is very useful in everyday conversation as well. If you want to say like, oh, this happened the other day, or I did this the other day, you'd say この前. Kanji there is 前. So this is kind of like the other day. この前. Right here. So この前, the other day, the time before. 名刺を取り継いだ記憶のある下女は? So all of this is describing the 下女 here. So the maid servant who had what? The other day. And then this 記憶のある. I have a memory, or I recall that this happened. And what happened? The Meiji, which is like a name card, very common in Japanese professional business culture and things like that. So 名刺を toritsuida. So someone had taken something for someone else. So this maidservant, who I remember had taken my name card the other day. Watashi o matashite oite. So matasu is to make someone wait, and then this teoku to do something in advance. So something else is going to happen after this, but for now, she made me wait. Matashite oite, mata uchi e haitta. This is also uchi, right? Yep. So she made me wait for a little bit and then went further into the house. Suruto, and then after that, or upon that happening, okusan rashii hito. So hito, a person. Then we have okusan, which is like a wife or the woman of the house, right? Lady of the household. Rashii hito. So a person who seemed to be the wife or the lady of the house. So a person who seemed to be the lady of the house ga kawatte dete kita. So this kawaru here is when something happens instead of something else. So instead of the other maidservant coming back, a person who seemed to be the wife of the house showed up, or dete kita, came out instead. Kawatte dete kita. And utsukushii okusan de atta. She was an extremely beautiful woman. So okusan was extremely beautiful. Utsukushii okusan de atta. Okay. Then watakushi wa sono hito kara, from that person, I 丁寧に先生の出先を教えられた. So 丁寧に is, so 丁寧 is literally like kind, but when you use it as an adverb like this, 丁寧に, you're doing something in a kind way. In Japanese, that also has the meaning of doing something like the proper way, the way it should be done. So 丁寧に, or also thoroughly, right? But here it might be more kindly. What do they have? Courteously. Yep. But like if you do this, use this in like a business situation, 丁寧にありがとうございます。ご丁寧にありがとうございました or something like that. Thank you for doing it thoroughly or kindly or the way it should be done. So here we have she kindly and then did what? So 教える. She taught or told me sensei no desaki. So where sensei was heading. The location that he went to. Desaki. Or destination, objective. And now you'll notice this is not 教えた, but 教えられた. So why is that? This is a passive right here. So 私は教えられた. So I was taught, or I was informed by this person. So this その人から, from that person, I was told where sensei was in a very courteous and kind way. Oh. Sensei wa, is it 礼月? I think it's 礼月, not 礼月, right? Yeah, 礼月. So sensei wa 礼月, which is if you add a 礼 in front of a time word, that means like every something. So that's every month. 礼月. その日になると, I think this is 雑司ヶ谷 is the name of the place. Yeah. 雑司ヶ谷, just a place name. 雑司ヶ谷の墓地にある仏へ花を手向けに行く習慣なのだそうである. Okay. Lots to break down here. So, sensei, every month, その日になると. So, その日 would be that certain day. We don't know if that's like a, like the second Sunday of the week or the month, or like the 13th or something like that. But there's a certain day, その日になると. Once it became that day of the month. Every month, 雑司ヶ谷の墓地. So 墓地 is a grave or cemetery. 墓地にある仏. So we have ある here followed with another aru. So this aru is a certain, and this aru is just the normal existing. So aru hotoke would be, hotoke can mean Buddha, but it can also be anyone who has died and passed on to the next life. So here, to a dead or deceased person or a soul who has departed this world, a certain person who had passed away that was existing in the cemetery of Zoshigaya. So every month, once it got to this day, to a certain person that passed away that was in this graveyard in Zoshigaya, hana o tamuke ni iku. So tamuke ni is to offer something to someone who has passed on. Tamuke ni iku. So go to pass something on. And what are we passing? Hana o, so flowers. To give flowers to a certain person. And then ni iku shukan nanoda. So shukan is a custom, or when you've can also be just something you decide to do and make sure you do it all the time. Shukan. Or what do they have here? Like a practice. Yep. Even almost like routine. It can be routine at a time. If you have a routine of doing something, you can have a shukan for that. So, and then we have this nanoda that's the explanation. So, this is where he went. Where did he go, or what situation were we in? He had a custom of going to offer flowers to a certain person at a cemetery in Zoshigaya on a certain day of every single month. And then, so de aru. Okay. This so de was something that you were told. So, I was told that he had the custom of doing that. I won't need to say it again. But okay, then tatta ima. That means just now. So tatta ima deta bakari. So tatta ima just now, deta bakari means just left. So if you have a verb in the past tense followed by bakari, means something just happened. So tatta ima deta bakari de. Or in that state where sensei just left. Jubun or jubun, not jubun. This can also read jubun, but here this is 10 minutes. So, 10分になるかならないかでございます. So, でございます is a very humble form of des, so it means the exact same thing, just more polite. So, then we have 10分になるかならないか. So this ka, these are embedded questions here. And so we have a des with some embedded questions here. I'm not sure whether it's been 10 minutes, so 10分になる, whether 10 minutes has already happened, or ならないか. So whether 10 minutes hasn't happened. It's been around 10 minutes. It's kind of a way you can say around that long. I'm not sure if it's been 10 minutes or hasn't been 10 minutes. So it's around 10 minutes. And then, と、奥さんは気の毒そうに言ってくれた. So, 奥さんは言ってくれた. So, 言って to say something, and then she's saying this kindly to someone. So, 言ってくれる to do something for someone in past tense. So, the wife said he just left. It probably has been around 10 minutes. And then we have 気の毒そうに. So 気の毒 is when you feel really sorry for something. So 気の毒, if someone, worked hard their entire life and never got the job they wanted, you can say, 気の毒ですね. 本当に気の毒ですね. And then this 気の毒そうに is appearing to have that feeling of feeling sorry for someone. So what's the translation they have here? Sympathetically, yeah. So this, our main character came and wasn't able to meet Sensei. So she was saying, he just left and it hasn't been 10 minutes. She felt really sad. Like, you just missed him. So very sympathetically said this to our main character. So, yeah. Okay, and then 私は萎縮して外へ出た. So, ishaku is, or eshaku, sorry. Eshaku is a bow. So, eshaku shite, I took a bow and went outside. So, in Japanese, a bow can mean thank you, right? So, thank you. And I walked outside. Soto e deta, left the house. And then, 賑やかな街の方へ一丁ほど歩くと So, 賑やかな街, the loud or bustling city. の方へ. So, 方 is like direction. So, you're heading in a certain direction with this え here. So, 賑やかな街の方へ一丁歩くと. So, towards the bustling, lively city. 一丁 is a certain, I'm trying to remember exactly how long 一丁 is. It's an old way of measuring distances in Japanese. So, 110 meters or 120 yards. 一丁ほど, so around 一丁 arukuto. So I walked about 110 meters towards the bustling city. And after that, 私も散歩がてら. So me as well. 散歩がてら. So if you add がてら onto a noun, that can mean like while I'm doing this thing. So 散歩がてら. While I'm taking a walk. And then you add something after がてら to say what you're doing while you're doing that. So 私も散歩がてら. While I'm taking this walk, 雑司ヶ谷へ行ってみる気になった. So once again, 気になる here, you have this feeling or inclination to do something. So I walked a little ways towards the bustling city, but then I had this feeling, or this inclination to 散歩がてら while just taking a nice little stroll. 雑司ヶ谷へ行ってみる. So 雑司ヶ谷, the place, へ行ってみる. So 行く. And then the te form with 見る is to give something a try, right? So I thought I would maybe check out 雑司ヶ谷 while going for a little walk. Since I now know where Sensei is, maybe I'll just walk that way. So, and Sensei ni 会えるか会えないか. So once again, we have this, these two embedded questions here. This is very common in Japanese, whether or not this will happen or whether it will happen. So, 会えるか, whether I will be able to meet Sensei, or 会えないか. So whether or not I'll be able to meet Sensei, という好奇心. So 好奇心 is curiosity. So there was this curiosity of, ooh, will I be able to meet Sensei? Will I not be able to meet Sensei or see him? And then も動いた. So 好奇心が動く. When your curiosity happens or occurs, you say 動く. It moves in Japanese. So I also had this curiosity of, I wonder if I'll be able to see Sensei. I'm just going to go walk over there. Maybe I'll see him. And then それですぐキビスを巡らした. So キビスを巡らす. This is not a very common one used nowadays, but or maybe it is, but I've never heard it in my 10 years of living in Japan and speaking Japanese. But キビスを巡らす is to turn in a new direction. So to turn on one's heels. So それで therefore, in that state, I was feeling all these things. I right away turned around. So I was heading toward the big bustling city. I had walked about 110 yards or something like that. And then I thought, maybe I should go to 雑司ヶ谷. And then I also had this curiosity of, ooh, will I be able to meet Sensei? Maybe, maybe not. And then それですぐキビスを巡らした. So I turned right away. After feeling these feelings, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go. Let's go. Cool. So, yeah, we have officially gone to Sensei's house twice, but Sensei's not there. And now our main character heard that Sensei visits this grave once a month. Kind of a little bit of foreshadowing here. And we said, okay, well, was going to go home. Maybe I'll just walk in the direction of the cemetery. Maybe I'll run into Sensei. And unfortunately, that is where we're going to have to end today. But I definitely want to at least do 2 sections at a time going forward, or this book is going to take a very long time to get through. But hopefully this was useful for you. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them. This will also be just uploaded as a video, so you can leave comments down below, in addition to just stuff in the chat for the next couple minutes. And yeah, so things are finally starting to unravel in our story, so it's starting to get interesting. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I will disappear, but I'll be here for just a couple more minutes in the background. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. And I will plan on seeing you. Just to let you know, we do have daily videos going over Japanese news articles from the NHK Yasashi Kotoba News, the news web easy. So a little bit easier than what we're reading with Kokoro here. Kokoro can be a little bit harder. Got a lot more going on. But it can also be just a way to kind of keep up on news in Japanese. Eventually, I'll probably get into some more difficult articles as well. But for now, kind of sticking in that, sticking to that level of Japanese. So, all right. Thank you so much for being here. 本当にありがとうございました。I will plan on seeing you next week where we will continue Kokoro at the same time. So, またね